Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent that all members may have 5 legislative days to revise and extend their remarks and submit extraneous materials. Today I stand here to recognize and honor...
Without objection.
Oh, thank you. Today I stand here to recognize and honor the service members of the National Guard and Reserve components. Over the last few years, our National Guard soldiers have been more in the spotlight than ever before. These men and women proved true to their motto of always ready, always there, as they face some of our nation's toughest times. We have seen Guardsmen from all over the country help in ways we never thought would be needed or possible, from a 5-month deployment to defend the U.S. Capitol, to assisting in an attempt to secure the southern border, to aiding our healthcare workers in the delivery of COVID-19 vaccinations and other COVID-related assignments. These men and women left behind their loved ones and livelihoods to assist all Americans when we most need it. Today is an opportunity for members of the House to thank these brave soldiers for the tremendous work and sacrifice our Guard and Reserve service members have endured since the first muster of militia forces to present day. There are a lot of issues that divide our nation and Congress, but I know for certain that support for our National Guard and Reserve continues to be bipartisan, and I'm proud of the work we are doing to assist these soldiers, their families, and the mission. I've said this before, but not all members have a military base, but almost everyone has a National Guard, Armory, and National Guardsman in their district. I look forward to hearing from more of my colleagues today as we take this moment to thank them for their service. I now recognize the gentleman from Hawaii and the co-chair of the National Guard and Reserve Components Caucus, Mr. Kahale. Well, here, you can come here. Okay.
Mahalo, Congressman Palazzo, for organizing this special order hour to celebrate the achievements of the National Guard across the nation. I am proud to be co-leading the Bipartisan Guard and Reserve Caucus with you this year. Today I'm here to recognize the Hawaii National Guard and highlight its growing role in our nation's competitiveness and strategic level defense priorities. In my now 21-year career of service to our state and nation, I've seen the Hawaii Air National Guard transform from a quiet, off-the-radar C-130, F-15, and KC-135 squadrons out in the Pacific to a lethal and almost full-time composite associate squadrons. The Hawaii Air National Guard's 154th Wing and their flying squadron serve alongside active duty counterparts flying C-17s and F-22s, as well as the KC-135, each and every day. Active duty pilots flying with Guard pilots side by side, deploying overseas. An important aspect of my job is to listen and hear from our men and women in the National Guard. And many of my policy proposals are the result of hearing directly from our Guardsmen. For example, members of the Guard contacted my office last year to raise their concerns about the number of days a reservist can serve on active duty. As a result, my colleagues and I authored the 1095 Rule Amendment Act, legislation that increases the maximum number of days that reservists can serve on active duty to maintain mission readiness. We are pleased that this legislation was signed into law and took effect last month. This is a huge victory for National Guardsmen across the nation and ensures the full capability of our most talented reserve component members without affecting end strength limitations. Now, I believe we can all agree that the success of our National Guard, is directly linked to the strength of our leadership. The Hawaii National Guard is positioned as a key strategic defense priority for our military in the Pacific. And for that, I would like to personally thank the Adjutant General of the Hawaii National Guard, Kenneth Hara, for his direction in leading the Guard in Hawaii. General Hara has been central to our state's early success with the COVID-19 pandemic. He and his team have been pivotal to the coordinated effort between our states, counties, and community organizations. Finally, mahalo nui loa. Thank you to our airmen and soldiers for being the best and most diverse National Guard organization in the nation. The important work that each and every one of you do makes our country strong. I also want to thank your families for their sacrifice and enduring support of your important work. Your commitment and participation to the Hawaii National Guard Association and National Guard associations throughout the nation is vital to its success and advocacy in Washington. Mahalo nui loa and onipa'a mauloa. Mahalo, and I will yield my time back to my colleague and co-chair of the caucus, Ms. Palazzo. Thank you.
I want to thank my co-chair, Representative Kahali, for his remarks. Also, to be noted, the representative is an Air Force veteran, and he's also a current Air National Guardsman. He served in multiple theaters, including Operation Enduring Freedom and Iraqi Freedom. So we appreciate his service to the nation, not just as a representative, but also as a veteran. At this time, I would like to recognize my colleague and good friend from the state of Mississippi, who has spent 36 years in the Mississippi Army National Guard, and he's currently serves as a Major General. Throughout his deployments, he has also earned 2 Bronze Stars, the Combat Action Badge, and the Bronze and Silver and Gold DeFleury medals for his service. And he also serves on the Armed Services Committee, where he's a huge asset for our nation.
Thank you, Mr. Palazzo. Mr. Speaker, today I'm proud and honored to recognize the accomplishment and sacrifices of our National Guard and Reserve component men and women. The history of the National Guard and Reserve predates the birth of our nation. In Mississippi, we have the 6th oldest active regiment, the 1st Battalion, 155th Infantry Regiment, the Mississippi Rifles. For over 250 years, brave Americans have answered the call to service to protect both our homeland, democracies abroad, and to conduct disaster response or support to civilian authorities during a crisis. Our reservists and Guard members bring a unique skill set to our armed forces, leveraging their expertise and real-world experiences from the civilian workforce to bring an exceptional and innovative perspective to our national defense. In addition to deployments overseas, Guard and reservists are employed across the broad and diverse mission set, whether it is responding to civil unrest in our nation's capital, defending our borders, providing relief from hurricanes or other natural disasters, as well as responding to the COVID-19 pandemic. I will tell you, the Guard did a yeoman's work in the COVID response, and it was much less by building testing sites, by giving vaccinations, by helping with all the logistics. It would not have gone as smooth without our Guard. As of today, the Mississippi National Guard has forces deployed in support of 4 combatant commands around the world. During the pandemic, the Mississippi National Guard activated approximately 1,700 service members that administered more than 765,000 vaccinations, 226,000 tests, and processed more than 109,000 lab samples supporting the Mississippi Department of Health. Our logistics professionals traveled more than 665,000 miles throughout our state to deliver more than 58 million pieces of personal protective equipment to our hospitals, long-term health care facilities, clinics, and testing sites. Since the global war on terror, the Guard has shifted from a strategic reserve force to an operational reserve, deploying in support of the same conflicts, fulfilling the same mission sets, and seeing the same combat against our enemies as the active component. Within this service has come great sacrifice, and I would like to honor the fallen Guard heroes who gave their lives in service of our country and its ideas in the global war on terror, in addition to the countless other Guard lives lost in World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and the Persian Gulf. One of these heroes is Sergeant First Class Sean M. Cooley, who I had the privilege of serving alongside in the 155th Brigade Combat Team in Iraq, who was killed in an action in Iraq February 3rd, 2005. In his memory, I introduced and had passed the House resolution that led to the Congressional Gold Star Family Fellowship Program Act, named for Sergeant First Class Sean Cooley and Specialist Christopher Horton, both who were Guardsmen. In closing, it has been my life's honor to serve in the Mississippi National Guard for over 36 years, and I'm committed to working with my colleagues in Congress and within the Department of Defense to ensure that our National Guard components are resourced appropriately, maintain a high level of readiness, and receive the same benefits that they have earned in their service to our great nation. With that, I yield back.
Thank you, Congressman Kelly, and thank you for your remarks, and especially thank you for your service. At this time, I would like to recognize our colleague from Texas, Representative Babin is a former Texas Army Guard and U.S. Army Reserve officer. He has over 7 major commands and over 25,000 guardsmen in your great state. I know you're a huge supporter of him, so I yield as much time as you need.
Thank you so very much, my good friend from Mississippi, Mr. Palazzo. Thank you for that. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize those who have faithfully served and are serving in our National Guard units. Dating back to 1636, the Guard has a proud history and has shaped and defended our great nation. In my home state, 199 years ago, home state of Texas, Stephen F. Austin formed the Texas Militia, now known as the Texas Army National Guard. And then 100 years later, the Texas Air National Guard was established. And since their inception, these courageous service members have been the first responders to many natural disasters, many in my own district, where we have routinely seem to have hurricanes. They have helped to maintain civil order, and they have deployed to the southern border to protect our sovereignty. But their service doesn't stop there. The Guard augments our active duty military, offering complete warfighting capability at only 30% of the cost. At a moment's notice, they respond to the call of our country. In Southeast Texas, you'll find the 147th Attack Wing at Ellington Field, where they fly the MQ-9 Reaper and are combat mission capable and proven, ready to provide critical ISR and air-to-ground strike capabilities. Additionally, they have responded to the crisis at the border and played a vital role in storm preparation and recovery. The 147th is a prime example of the benefits of the National Guard. And I have no doubt that this wing will continue to succeed and lead into the future. And speaking of the future, we must create a Space National Guard mirroring the newest branch of our military, focusing on missile warning, space intel, electronic warfare, satellites, and many other capabilities. The collaboration between active duty and Space Guard would seamlessly provide ops and mission support from above. As a former member of the Texas Army National Guard, I stand firmly behind you Guardsmen who are willing to be called upon at any moment with every capability to do any job, including in space, and I offer my heartfelt admiration and appreciation. And so with that, I would yield back. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Babin, for your service, not only in the military, but also in the U.S. House of Representatives. And also thank you for what your Texas National Guard is doing to try to secure our border in Texas. And so at this time, I would like to recognize Representative Mike Carey. Mike Carey is also a former Army Guard officer. He represents 18,000 guardsmen. I mean, actually, Ohio has 18,000 guardsmen and nine major commands, Army and Air. And so we thank you for your service, and we thank you for participating tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Congressman. For nearly 400 years, the U.S. National Guard has served as a vital component to our nation's warfighting and peacekeeping capabilities. Guard members are stewards of equipment, resources necessary to assist in times of need, and are always ready to respond to our nation's challenges, both at home and abroad. As a former officer in the Army National Guard, I know that the Guard is so much more than a weekend a month and 2 weeks a year to those who serve. It is about service to our nation and always being ready to answer the call. It is about our neighbors helping neighbors, ready to respond to anything from a natural disaster, drug seizure, or even a cyber attack. Members of the Guard are essential to provide the capabilities to accomplish the state and national priorities that we have. In the Buckeye State, the Ohio National Guard is always ready, always there. Since 9/11, more than 25,000 Ohio soldiers and airmen have been deployed all over the world. Over the last 2 years, just as the Guard members across the country have done, the Ohio National Guard members have been lifesavers throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. More than 2,000 Ohio National Guard members were deployed at 18 testing centers and 62 hospitals across Ohio as part of a critical and general support teams. They prevented a crisis of care by providing patient monitoring, transportation, staffing, administration, testing, and vaccinations, and even food distribution. I saw their work firsthand as a drive-through a testing site in Columbus where Guard members collaborated with The Ohio State University to ensure that more than 1,000 Ohioans per day could be tested during the national testing shortage. It was an amazing operation that could not have worked without the experience and the efficiency of our National Guard members. In conclusion, we cannot thank our National Guard members enough for what they have done to keep us safe and what they will continue to do throughout their service. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman Carey. I know the state's very proud of your support of the Ohio National Guard and all the military services that you have there. At this time, it's a huge honor to recognize Burgess Owens. He represents Utah's 4th Congressional District. We're a state that has 11 major commands and over 7,500 guardsmen. Fortunately, Representative Burgess serves on the Judiciary Committee and the Subcommittee on Crime, Terrorism, and Homeland Security. So I know you appreciate our guardsmen and our service members, and you're looking out after the homeland. So thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I rise today to honor the National Guard members in Utah and across our great nation. Since 1636, members of the National Guard have proudly served our communities and our entire nation. Today and every day, we are incredibly thankful for the commitment to serving others and keeping us safe. These past 2 years have been especially challenging for the airmen and soldiers of the National Guard, who have stepped up when the nation called and provided much-needed support to our communities. From Logan to St. George, they have provided direct hospital support during the height of COVID-19, helped fight firefighters across the American West, and provided a calm and collected response to recent episodes of civil unrest. They have performed under some of the most serious and difficult conditions in recent memory, while also balancing their responsibilities as parents, spouses, employees, and even business owners. I've had the privilege of meeting many of these fine men and women, from the officers of the NCOs of the 19th Special Forces Group to privates assigned to the 67th Field Artillery Brigade. I've been impressed by their selfless service and commitment to duty. Utah is truly blessed to serve as the proud home of Camp Williams and over 7,000 of these remarkable airmen and soldiers. These brave men and women are always ready and always there. Utah has one-of-a-kind spirit of service, and the members of our National Guard are no exceptions. Each and every day, they faithfully live out their mission to provide military forces to assist our state and federal authorities in times of emergencies. They stand ready to protect Utahns and Americans from enemies, both foreign and domestic, and to react quickly in the face of national disasters or emergencies. Thank you for serving Utahns and Americans safe. I yield back.
Thank you, Representative Owens. At this time, I'd like to recognize Congressman Bergman for Michigan's 1st Congressional District. Representative Bergman was a Lieutenant General in the United States Marine Corps, so Semper Fi, sir. And he's also notably the highest-ranking combat veteran to have ever served in the House of Representatives.
Well, thank you, fellow Marine and fellow Guardsmen. Mr. Palazzo, your dedication to being one of the co-chairs of the Guard and Reserve Caucus reminds me of continued service that members of the Guard and Reserve do every day in communicating to the general public the value of what it means to have a ready Guard and Reserve, but also here in Congress, the continuing education for all of our members so that they understand in their states that the importance of maintaining a ready Guard and Reserve. You know, May is National Military Appreciation Month. So is June, so is July, so is August, so is September. I would suggest to you we should be thankful continually for the men and women who always are standing by at the ready when our country needs them, whether it's a humanitarian assistance mission, a disaster relief mission, a border security mission, a mobilized go to the fight kind of mission anywhere in the world. Our Guard and Reserve stand ready. But in that readiness comes the requirement to properly fund the Guard and Reserve. And in the military, it is always a competition for resources. But I believe the combination of states, because the governor of every state is the commander-in-chief of their Guard units. Reserve units, different story, they're under the command of the different services. But the readiness and the support that is offered by each state and its governor to ensure that their Guard units are ready to go, whether they're Army Guard, whether they're Air Guard, no matter what it is essential to not only the state readiness, but the overall readiness that we need as a country in the very complex world in which we live. But a special thanks tonight to the families of those Guardsmen and Reservists, because those Guardsmen and Reservists, they work a Monday through Friday job, let's say, and on Friday night, when a lot of their peers leave their jobs and go home to go play golf or go fishing or whatever, they're packing their kits and going to a drill weekend or a 2-week annual training or whatever it is. So the sacrifice of time that the Guardsmen and Reservists make at the expense of their family time is something, again, we should never take lightly and always remember, because it's those young children who wonder why mom and dad is not around on Saturday and Sunday, but then they see the picture of them wearing the uniform and doing the kind of duty that we need in the United States of America. We cannot thank the family enough. And having said that, in thanking the family, the commanders of the units know very well that good training time means that you're busy, you're doing good things, and if there's nothing to do, secure and go home and spend time with your families, because it's the family that keeps everybody together. And speaking of keeping things together, employers a lot of times don't understand the sacrifices that their men or women are making on the weekends. They just see them, as good employees Monday through Friday. So I thank the employers. And there's a group called the Employer Support of the Guard and Reserve. They've done a great job across the country to ensure that the relations between the Guard and Reserve and the employers are such that there's no misunderstanding of why a person may ask for a day or two extra to leave for extra guard duty, to do a longer drill weekend. So my thanks to the employers as well. On a little personal note, when it comes to Michigan, in fact, today I met with the Adjutant General of the Michigan Guard, and as a state, Michigan has some very, very, very unique and productive training areas. We're a state with a lot of water around us. We got a lot of woods, and Camp Grayling, in kind of the central part of lower Michigan, really is an example of what a National Guard base, training base, could and should look like around the country. Multinational exercises every year, Exercise Northern Strike, the Alpena Combat Readiness Training Center. We are one of the few areas where the fighters have unfettered access to unrestricted training areas to do live ordnance. And we need to have our pilots and our air crews and all our shooters ready to go. And I'm proud to represent that part of Michigan that houses Camp Grayling. And of course, Selfridge Air National Guard Base down kind of closer towards Detroit. It is a base with a future because it's one of the few bases that is not a joint base where you have military and civil aviation going together. So the ability of the Air Guard, of the Air Force Reserve, of any of the reserve components that fly to put capabilities at Selfridge Air National Guard Base is a win-win for not only our defense posture, but, quite honestly, for the state of Michigan when it comes to providing bang for the buck in the defense dollar. I could tell you about a lot of stories over a long time, and in my command, my last command as the commanding general of the Marine Corps Reserve, whether you're a Marine, a sailor, an airman, a soldier, soon to be Space Guardians in the reserve component, Coast Guard, the men and women who serve, the missions that they are ready to do, give me confidence that our ability as the United States military to not only go to the fight, but to do the things that are the humanitarian assistance, disaster relief, we're in good hands because of the commitment of the men and women who wear the uniform. So, my friend Congressman Palazzo, thank you for leading this. Thank you for calling attention to the fact that without our Guard and Reserve, we are less ready as a country. Thank you.
Thank you, General Bergman. I appreciate it. Being over the 4th Marine Division gives you insight that many people don't understand, and being able to connect the relationships between the actual serving member, their family, and their employer is extremely important. At this time, I would like to recognize my colleague from the great state of Mississippi. He represents Mississippi's 3rd Congressional District. Michael also serves as the vice-ranking member on Homeland Security, so he definitely takes Homeland Security and national security very seriously, and he loves the Guard so much he even hired a retired adjutant general to serve on his staff. So thank you for being here.
Thank you. The people of the great state of Mississippi are grateful for the service of the 12,500 National Guard service members of our state and for the leadership of General Durr Bowles. Our Guardsmen are dedicated to keeping Mississippi safe by providing response to disasters and by serving our nation on domestic and foreign military missions. During floods and hurricanes, our Guardsmen transport and rescue civilians inundated by high waters. And after the storms, National Guard engineers repair infrastructure and utilities and provide logistic support to citizens. With 65 readiness centers statewide, the Mississippi Army National Guard can quickly respond to any number of events at a moment's notice. And the Mississippi Air National Guard, operating from the 186th Air Refueling Wing, the 182nd Air Wing, and the Combat Readiness Training Center, provide access to services across the globe. On behalf of the people of Mississippi, I want to thank every man and woman who serves in the Mississippi National Guard for their dedicated service to our state and our nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman Guest. And at this time, I would like to recognize Congressman Clyde from Georgia's 9th District. Congressman Clyde has served as a U.S. Navy officer for over 28 years, 3 combat deployments to Kuwait and Iraq, and we appreciate you being here to support our National Guard and our reserve components. So thank you.
Thank you to my friend Congressman Palazzo. Mr. Speaker, Americans are blessed to have brave men and women protecting our precious freedoms, including the more than 400,000 members of the National Guard. These service members selflessly put their lives on the line in defense of our nation. Today and every day, we honor their service and sacrifice. Guard members serve a unique mission, safeguarding our country as a whole and protecting the individual states that make up our nation, including my home state of Georgia. From assisting at COVID-19 testing sites and maintaining law and order during violent demonstrations to helping out during extreme weather emergencies, the Georgia Guardsmen always answer the call to serve. And this service regularly extends beyond the Peach State, such as at the southern border, where there are over 100 Georgia National Guard troops assisting Border Patrol agents in handling President Biden's out-of-control border crisis. Additionally, Georgia currently has combat forces at all 6 geographic combatant commands, serving our great state and our nation around the world. In fact, members of the Georgia Air National Guard's 165th Airlift Wing were deployed to Europe in response to Russia's unlawful invasion of Ukraine. Georgians are tremendously thankful for their service in this vital mission, and we continue to pray for their safety overseas. Our nation is forever grateful for all of the past, the current, and the future men of the National Guard. And we thank you for your duty to our nation and dedication to our freedoms. Thank you, and I yield back.
Thank you, Congressman Clyde. At this time, I'd like to recognize Congressman Elsie from Texas's 6th Congressional District. He's a graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy, flew H-60 helicopters, F-4 Tomcats, F-A-18 Hornets, and Super Hornets, served 5 combat tours in Afghanistan and 2 in Iraq. And if I may just note, since you're a graduate of the Naval Academy, I actually happen to serve on the Board of Visitors for the Naval Academy. But my best experience was in 2011. A little team called Southern Miss, Golden Eagles from Harrisburg, Mississippi, was able to travel up to Annapolis and put a beat down on the Naval Academy. It only happened once, but it's once in a lifetime is good for me. So, Congressman,
once is more than enough for us. But I'm sure that it was. I'm sure it was a well-earned victory, and I appreciate having my friend Mr. Palazzo give me this time today. Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I come before the House of Representatives to honor and recognize those who have chosen to serve our country as members of the National Guard and those enlisted in military reserve units. The National Guard's mission began on December 13, 1636, when the Massachusetts Bay Colony organized 3 militia regiments to defend its people. And since that day, they've been continuing their mission of always ready and always there. In 1775, during the American Revolution, they were there. In 1918, during World War I, they were there. In 1941, during World War II, they were there. And of course, on September 11, 2001, they were there. And they're here today. Right now, there are over 6,500 Texas National Guard members stationed on our southern border. Why are they there? To protect us, as always. They're there to defend every man, woman, and child in this country. We should not have to rely on these brave men and women to secure our border as National Guardsmen, but we do, and they do. They're there to stop the cartels from tracking drugs that are killing our young people by the hundreds of thousands. 105,000 last year dead by fentanyl. They're there to save the women and children that are being brought into this country for the purposes of the sex trade, modern-day slavery. For many National Guard members, their love for country is a calling to protect it, and that attributes to years of service. Just like Red Oak resident and veteran Captain Henry Sterling. Henry joined the Oklahoma National Guard shortly after graduating high school and marrying his wife, Billy. In 1951, Henry received orders to serve in Korea, and he answered the call to be there. And he's still with us today and still married to Billy after 73 years. While Captain Sterling's story is a remarkable one, it's not uncommon. We have outstanding men and women all over this country who dedicate their lives to protecting those who can't. History has always taught us that we can always count on the National Guard and those enlisted in our military reserve units to always be there. So thank you. Thank you for what you do for this country. What you do for this country can't be understated. It cannot be overlooked, and we would not be here without you. Thank you, and I yield back. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Congressman Elsie. At this time, if I may inquire of the Speaker how much time we have remaining.
The gentleman has 26 minutes remaining. 26.
This time I'd like to recognize my good friend and Congressman from Oklahoma's 1st Congressional District, Kevin Hearn. He has 5 major commands and over 10,000 guardsmen. And from his actions and deeds, he's truly supportive of not just our active duty, but our Guard and our reserve components. So thank you for being here tonight.
I'd like to thank my colleague from Mississippi for hosting this special order tonight. You know, the National Guard is a special group in every one of our states. They are the everyday citizens, your neighbors, your co-workers, and your friends who choose to use their free time to serve their community and protect their fellow Americans. The Oklahoma National Guard is an exceptional group of men and women who have responded to the call of duty time and time again. Over the past few years, the Oklahoma National Guard has shown their dedication to our country numerous times, from supplying our states with necessities as we navigated the pandemic to assisting our border agents at the southern border, and even representing Oklahoma in Washington, D.C. I'm proud of the work they've done on behalf of our state. I can't mention the Oklahoma National Guard without honoring the memory of an important constituent of mine, Technical Sergeant Marshall Roberts, who served in the Oklahoma National Guard and was deployed to Camp Taji when his team came under a rocket of fire on March 11, 2020. He was killed in the attack, making the ultimate sacrifice for his nation. The day Sergeant Roberts' body landed in Tulsa was a day I'll remember forever. The nation had just shut down due to the pandemic, but that didn't stop Tulsans from lining the streets at the airport by the thousands. A solemn show of gratitude and honor for Sergeant Roberts, his wife Christy, and his daughter Peyton, and the entire Roberts family. I'm glad to have this opportunity to share Sergeant Roberts' story again on the United States Congress House floor, and join my colleagues in honoring and celebrating the incredible National Guardsmen and women who serve across this great country. I'd like to thank my colleague again for doing this, and I yield back.
Hey, thank you, Congressman Hearn. And at this time, I'd like to recognize a colleague of mine, Congressman Klein from Virginia's 6th District. He has 7 major commands and over 9,000 guardsmen. And I'd like to note he serves on the Appropriations Committee, and many of the guardsmen, over about, I want to say 92% of all funding that they receive comes from the federal government through your committee. So, Congressman Klein, the floor is yours.
I want to thank Mr. Palazzo for hosting this special order this evening to recognize the tremendous service and sacrifice of the brave men and women of the National Guard and the reserve components of our armed forces. I'd also like to thank the gentleman for his service in the Mississippi Guard. It's certainly fitting to honor these often unsung heroes as we celebrate Military Appreciation Month. While the National Guard was founded in the Massachusetts Bay Colony in 1636, the Virginia National Guard traces its history and tradition of citizen soldier service to the founding of Jamestown in 1607. There's been a military presence defending Virginia ever since. The Virginia National Guard's current strength is 7,200 soldiers, 1,200 airmen, 300 Virginia Defense Force members, and 400 federal and state civilians, and they bring more than $250 million in annual income into the Commonwealth. The Virginia National Guard currently has more than 2,000 personnel serving on federal active duty, with units conducting missions in the United States, Middle East, Horn of Africa, and Kosovo, the most since 2007. The 29th Infantry Division has the most divisional soldiers on federal duty since World War II, with units deployed from Virginia, Kentucky, and Maryland. Currently, Virginia Air National Guard pilots and maintainers assigned to the 192nd Wing from Joint Base Langley Eustis are currently supporting the 1st Fighter Wings deployment Al Dhafra Air Base, United Arab Emirates, to provide short-notice air superiority to U.S. Central Command amid a series of recent attacks in the region. Approximately 120 Virginia National Guard soldiers assigned to Stanton-based 116th Infantry Brigade Combat Team Headquarters are on federal active duty to take responsibility for the NATO-led Kosovo Force Regional Command East, and approximately 140 soldiers assigned to the Sandston-based 2nd Battalion, 224th Aviation Regiment, 29th Infantry Division are mobilized to serve as their aviation task force. NATO KFOR troops conduct peace support operations, contributing to a safe and secure environment for all people in Kosovo, while healthy political dialogue continues between Kosovo and Serbia. Approximately 300 National Guard soldiers assigned to the Norfolk-based 1st Battalion, 111th Field Artillery Regiment, 116th Infantry Brigade Combat Team are on federal active duty, conducting training to provide personnel on site protection using the Counter-Rocket Artillery and Mortar System, or CRAM, in the Central Command Area of Operations in the Middle East. Approximately 1,000 Virginia and Kentucky National Guard soldiers assigned to Lynchburg-based 1st Battalion, 116th Infantry Regiment, 116th Infantry Brigade Combat Team are on federal active duty as Task Force Red Dragon as a security force in support of Combined Joint Task Force Horn of Africa. Approximately 80 soldiers assigned to the Virginia-based 329th Regional Support Group are currently on federal active duty in the Central Command Area of Operations under the operational control of Combined Joint Task Force Operation Inherent Resolve, serving as the base operating support integrator for multiple installations. And finally, approximately 500 Virginia and Maryland National Guard soldiers assigned to the Fort Belvoir-based 29th Infantry Division are currently on federal active duty in the Central Command Area of Operations as Task Force Spartan to provide leadership, command, control, and in-depth staff analysis for Operation Spartan Shield. As we celebrate Military Appreciation Month, let us never forget those who are serving and who have given their last full measure while wearing our nation's uniform. Those who are still on the front lines in places both known and unknown, and the families who are asked to carry the burden while their loved ones are away. May God continue to bless our troops and the United States of America. And with that, I yield back.
Congressman Klein, thank you so much for your remarks. At this time, I'd like to introduce Congressman Carter from Georgia's 1st Congressional District, where they host 8 major commands in his state and over 16,000 patriotic guardsmen.
I thank the gentleman for yielding, and I thank him for sponsoring this tonight. It is extremely important and timely at that. Madam Speaker, it's my pleasure today to recognize the members of the United States National Guard that call our district home. The 1st Congressional District of Georgia is home to every military branch, every branch of the military in America. Home to Moody Air Force Base, Kings Bay Naval Base, Hunter Army Airfield, and Fort Stewart. All of those in the 1st Congressional District of Georgia. And make no mistake about these great installations. They were placed here along the 110 miles of pristine coastline for a reason. It is because of our great weather, and it's because of our proximity to the Port of Savannah and the Port of Brunswick. In addition to those branches of the military and to those military bases, we also are home to the Combat Readiness Training Center at the Air Dominance Center in Savannah. The Air Dominance Center is home to the Air National Guard here in Savannah, and unfortunately, the President, in his budget for fiscal year 23, has proposed closing the most efficient, the most utilized Combat Readiness Training Center here in America, the one located in Savannah. And oh, by the way, the one that is about to complete a $24 million hangar built for stealth fighters. Unbelievable. In fact, they've invited me to the ribbon cutting that's to be held in September, the 1st of September, with the intention now of this administration wanting to close it down the 1st of April of next year. No wonder taxpayers get so upset about wasteful government spending. This is the most ludicrous thing I have ever heard. On top of that, think about the world stage that we're in right now. Madam Speaker, do you realize that we are potentially on the brink of World War III? Think about it. Russia has attacked Ukraine. An errant missile, a mistake, and they hit a NATO country. All of a sudden, it triggers Article 5. All of a sudden, we're in World War III. And this president and this administration are talking about closing a combat readiness training center? You got to be kidding me. We ought to be opening more. This is the most ludicrous thing I've ever heard. The Savannah Combat Readiness Training Center represents the most uniquely cost-efficient taxpayer investment thanks to the shared airfield between the National Guard Bureau and the 165th Airlift Wing. This can't be allowed to happen. This has got to be stopped. And I'm prepared to do what it takes to ensure that it doesn't. I'm here today to say that I appreciate, that I value members of the Georgia National Guard and members of the United States National Guard, and that we're going to do everything we can to make sure that the Combat Readiness Training Center in Savannah stays open. God bless our country, God bless our troops, and God bless the National Guard.
Thank you, Congressman Carter, for those wonderful remarks. At this time, can I inquire of the Speaker how much time remains?
The gentleman has 16 minutes remaining.
16 minutes. Thank you, Madam Speaker. As a former Marine Corps reservist and current member of the National Guard, I am proud to represent my fellow Mississippi Guardsmen in Congress. It is no secret that Mississippi has a continued history of support of our armed forces. The South Mississippi community understands what backing our military every step of the way truly means. I'm proud to have been able to lead the way on a project that directly benefits the Guardsmen in Mississippi and across America. The mobilization and annual training equipment site, MATES, located at Camp Shelby, would update the current MATES facility that was built in 1984 and was designed to handle smaller models of armored vehicles. This new facility would construct 52,000 square feet of maintenance training bays and supporting facilities that are currently being utilized to maintain the equipment that supports the readiness of 2 heavy brigade teams. As a member of the Appropriations Committee, I'm happy to have been able to assist our Guardsmen in securing funding for this project and fiscal year 22 omnibus bill. The Mates facility at Camp Shelby is a crucial asset to South Mississippi and our national defense. These funds will make the work of our National Guard at Camp Shelby safer and more efficient, as well as boost the surrounding economy. The National Guard and Reserve Caucus is committed to pursuing legislative and policy initiatives that ensure the National Guard and Reserve components have strong representation on policy, procurement, force structure, and utilization within the Department of Defense. This caucus is one of the largest and most bipartisan caucuses in the House. As co-chair of this caucus, I'm excited to highlight a few of the caucus's legislative priorities and recent policy wins for our Guardsmen. H.R. 3626, the National Guard and Reserve Incentive Pay Parity Act, was included in the final version of the NDAA and was signed into law on December 27, 2021. This legislation would require the military to provide Reserve and National Guard service members incentive and special duty pay at the same rate as their active duty counterparts. I'm also thankful for the previous co-chair, Tim Ryan's leadership on this bill that will ensure Guardsmen are receiving pay parity. Additionally, I was proud to see our current co-chair, Representative Kahili, 1095 Rule Amendment Act included in the most recent NDAA that recently went into effect. This law will strengthen the National Guard and Reserve by increasing the maximum day reservists can serve on active duty. Thank you, Congressman Kahili, for your steadfast work on this victory that directly benefits all Guardsmen. Going forward, the caucus will continue to push on legislative priorities that will benefit our Guardsmen and reservists. I encourage all my colleagues to join the caucus and receive monthly updates on legislation that benefits the National Guard and Reserve components, and also share with the caucus success stories of their own National Guard. So thank you, Madam Speaker, and I'm about to close, but I have one more gentleman I'd like to yield my time to. The floor is yours, Congressman.
Thank you, gentlemen. Madam Speaker, may I inquire how much time is left?
The gentleman from Mississippi has 12 minutes.
12 minutes. Okay, well, I can go slow then. Thank you. Okay. Madam Speaker, I rise today to honor the life of country music legend Mickey Gilley. Mickey Gilley passed away Saturday, May 7th in Branson at the age of 86. Born on March 9th, 1936, Mickey was a native of Natchez, Mississippi, where he grew up around his 2 famous cousins, Jerry Lee Lewis and Jimmy Swaggart. In his career, Mickey earned 39 top hits and 17 #1 songs. With 6 Academy of Country Music Awards, a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and a member of the 2011 Texas Country Music Hall of Fame, Gilley was also one of only a few artists who have also received the Academy of Country Music's Triple Crown Awards. But it was the opening of a country dance club bearing his name that changed the world of country music forever. It was 1971 when Mickey Gilley officially opened the doors of his famous honky-tonk, Mickey Gilley's. Gilley's reputation grew so much that Hollywood even took notice with the hit movie Urban Cowboy. Some of y'all probably seen it, where he even made an appearance along John Travolta. Mickey made an appearance along Deborah Winger and Johnny Lee. Inspired by the real-life romance of a pair of the club's patrons, Urban Cowboy put Gilley's on the map, revived music careers, launched other careers, introduced two-stepping to a whole new audience, and created a lifestyle that's been adopted by millions. Following his role in Urban Cowboy, Mickey Gilley found himself performing in the main showrooms in places like Las Vegas, Reno, Tahoe, and Atlantic City, and even traveling to Europe to perform. Gilley even performed for Presidents Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush. Over the decades, Gilley appeared in a number of popular television series, including The Fall Guy, Fantasy Island, Dukes of Hazzard, Murder, She Wrote, and Chips. Not only will Mickey Gilley's music live on in the hearts of so many that loved his music, but his cultural influence cannot be understated. Urban Cowboy became an American phenomenon, and it was influenced by the real-life stories of Gilley's patrons, Dew Westbrook and Betty Helmer. Urban Cowboy told the story of a West Texas farmhand new to the area and working his job at a refinery. This film introduced country western dance to America and created a lifestyle adopted by millions. Even more surprisingly, it directly resulted in the most unlikely outcome of all: country western music becoming mainstream. Once considered outdated hillbilly attire, cowboy hats and belt buckles were back in, and they became high fashion. Recently, on Saturday, July 29th, Mickey Gilley came to the Galveston Regional Chamber of Commerce's celebration, quote, the 50th anniversary of Gilley's and the 42nd anniversary of Urban Cowboy, end quote. It was a great celebration with thousands, and Mickey sang for us, delighting the crowd. We even presented him with a copy of a tribute I did to him on the floor of the U.S. House of Representatives and a plaque commemorating the event. Mickey Gilley will be missed, but his legacy will live on, not only in the hearts and minds of those who loved his music, but also in America's love for country music. Western Wrangler jeans, country boots, and pickup trucks, they'll all be remembered because of him. Mickey Gilley has even been featured in the popular Texas Hot Country magazine. Gilley was preceded in death by his wife Vivian, who passed in 2019. He is survived by his wife, Cindy Love Gilley, his children Kathy, Michael, Gregory, and Keith Ray, 4 grandchildren, 9 great-grandchildren, and his cousins, Jerry Lee Lewis and Jimmy Swaggart. My deepest sympathies go out to his family. Thank you, Mickey Gilley, for introducing our way of life to the world. You will forever be a legend. And Madam Speaker, I have one more that is notable who has passed in our great district, so I'd like to commemorate him. I rise today to mourn the loss of our great Galveston County Precinct 4 Commissioner, Ken Clark. He was Galveston County's longest serving elected official. Ken had become a commissioner in 1998, and he's been an active member of our community for even longer. Ken has been an instrumental community leader for several decades and a dedicated public servant. In his time, he has served as the State Republican Executive Committee. He has served on Sergeant-at-Arms of the Republican Party of Texas. He has served as Galveston's Municipal Utility District President and received the Galveston County Republican Party's Volunteer of the Year Award. Ken also worked extensively with a wide variety of community organizations and tirelessly worked to improve the lives of those who lived in Galveston County. I first met Ken when he worked on former Congressman Steve Stockman's campaign. Ken was a go-getter, a great conservative, and a great Republican back then and even more so now. Ken was a devoted public servant, a husband, a father, and a mentor. He loved Jesus Christ, and it showed. Commissioner Clark, you will sorely be missed, but we will see you again. Meantime, our thoughts and our prayers are with you and your wonderful wife, Sherry, and y'all's 7 children. Madam Speaker, with that, I yield back. Thank the gentleman.
I want to thank the gentleman for his remarks. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for allowing me to host this special order today. It was great to hear from each of my colleagues on the importance of our guardsmen and reservists. Thank you to all those who participated, and I look forward to working together on the issues that lie ahead. Finally, I would like to say thank you to all our National Guardsmen, our reservists, and their families. The work you are doing is making America better. You're making America safer, and I yield back the remainder of my time.